Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining myself and Tayla Gibbs on episode 2 of JMTV. And today I'm going to be interviewing Tayla and dialing right back to the beginning of her journey when she went and decided to start some coaching for bodybuilding competition back in, when was it, Tayla? Was it start of 2020?
Yeah, right at the start of 2020.
Yeah, it was. And so you had been dabbling prior to that. But if we take it even further back, your background was in competitive diving and also gymnastics?
Yeah, and competitive gymnastics as well, yeah.
Wow. And so at what age did you start competing in those?
I started gymnastics when I was 2, and I
Wow.
was competitive from when I was like 6 till 11, I think. And then I just like stayed in like recreational gymnastics till I was 16 when I started
Wow.
diving. Yeah. And I did diving so from 2016 to like end of 2019.
So you already had a competitive background.
Yes.
And so how did that shape your decision to move into something else that also was competing?
Oh, well, I'm just such a competitive person. I just like, when I decided I didn't want to do diving anymore, everyone was always asking me like, well, what's next? You can't just like do nothing. You're too competitive of a person to like just do nothing. I'm like, I know. And then the idea of bodybuilding kind of floated by, and I was like, oh, that's a competitive sport that I could get myself into. Yeah.
And so what part of it kind of jumped out at you?
Oh, I don't know. I like wanted to, like, coming from sport my whole life, I wanted to get into something that was going to keep me fit. Um and then also like I always start sports for the outfits. Like
Yeah.
yeah. So like
Yeah.
in gymnastics I had all like the sequined leotards, and then when
Mm.
I did diving I had the neon togs, and I was like, okay, sequins and neon bodybuilding. I want to wear the cute outfits.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And so, and you definitely have, got to do quite a bit of that along, your road with your competing. And we're going to jump into all that stuff as well. So, but, after that, so once you sort of started to slow down with some of that gymnastics and diving, then at what point did you decide to start lifting in the gym? What
Yeah,
year was it?
it was, I think I quit diving in September 2019.
Mm.
And then like the day that I finished, I was like, okay, I can't do nothing because I'll die.
Yeah.
So I had a family friend who'd done bodybuilding in the past kind of make me a little like gym program. I was like, okay, cool, I'll join the gym. And yeah, so that's kind of when I started lifting, and it wasn't lifting much. I don't think I was lifting right either, but
No, but everyone starts somewhere.
oh yeah.
And that's the important thing to remember, because, we can look at these seasoned athletes on stage and they just seem to know it all, but everyone started right back there where they were just dabbling in the gym, and it was just new and daunting. And that's kind of where you were at that stage. And so, did you have someone kind of working with you back then?
No. I had one kind of like program that I had on my notes that I'd bring up at the beginning of every session, and I'd walk around the gym like, oh, what's that? I'm too scared to sit in front of the free weights. I'm just going to stand back in my own little corner. And I kind of just potted away asking the trainers at the gym, like, what is this? What does this mean? And they'd like kind of show it to me. I'm like, oh, okay. So it was, yeah, just me kind of pottering around with my little notes on my phone, like.
And then at some point you ended up in a CrossFit gym or doing something with CrossFit as well.
Yeah, I did CrossFit when I was at diving.
Right.
It is the result of many injuries in my life.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Right. And so then, it was actually the very end of 2019 is when you got in contact with me. I think it was around December.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or something like that. And we did a phone call and we had a bit of a chat. And then I remember you saying, I'm not sure. I've got to think about it. I'm not sure if I can commit to this because I think you were going to Wellington or.
I was about to go to Australia for a holiday, and I was like, I'll think about it and when I come back. Yeah, before all this lockdown stuff.
Yeah, because it was back then, end of 2019. And I'm just dialing right back in my memory here. And was it you? Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure at one point you said, no, I've decided this might be a bit too much. And then you came back to me and said, actually, I've restructured everything and I do want to give this a go. That was you, wasn't it?
Yeah. No, like I went away and I was like, oh, Mum, like, do I want to be doing this? Like, is this something that I want to start committing my time to? Is this something that, like, because it's a lot of time in the gym and a lot of time.
It is. And I had spelled all that out to you in our phone call. Do you remember that very first conversation? And I would have really, like, spelled it out and made it very clear as to, what the path could look like, which is very daunting when you're so green.
Yeah, exactly. And, like, you were the first coach I reached out to as well, because, like, I was seeing on Instagram people like, oh, want to do a bodybuilding competition? Get a coach. And I was like, okay, bodybuilding coaches into Google. Your name popped up. I was like, okay. And I didn't look any further. So.
And so what was the turning point? You had the conversation with your mum.
Yeah. We kind of talked about it. I'm like, is this the right thing that I want to go into? Is this going to push me enough to keep that, like, weird competitive voice in the back of my head, like, at bay and keep me motivated and stuff? And starting uni as well, I was like, am I going to have time for this? And Mum's like, if you're going to do it, like, Mum's always said to me, like, my whole life, like, if you're going to do it, you have to train more than the people that are the best. And I'm like, I have to put more effort in than those people that are the best. I'm like,
wise words.
I can commit to that. I think I want to be the best.
You definitely proved it. Okay, so it was probably around January, February. I think we got underway, and we just you were doing some work with a nutritionist. So you had started to. Prior to seeing me, you'd already started to get a bit of a nutrition routine happening, which was going quite well when you were starting to get some results.
Yeah, until I wasn't. I stopped, and I don't know what happened. I think I probably just wasn't training well enough before I started seeing you, and just like I started seeing small changes in my body, but like even those photos that, like, my first photos that I sent you in January, I'd been training for like 4 months, and I look, it's like, meh.
Well, there were actually some changes, because if we look back at, sort of 2017, because we've got some of those selfies from back then that you took, and you had actually started to make some progress. I mean, the fact was that you always had a really good base there in terms of your body height, your structure, the balance between your upper and lower body, the way the fat distribution was, your general kind of proportions were really quite good. And so when you sent me your initial photos in 2019, straight away I could see that you had good structure, good proportion. You had really got the ball rolling for yourself as you just, had started to dabble a bit. And I could see that you had started to get some results, and I knew what I could do with you. So I was like, right, here's a whole load of talent right here. Let's now take this to the next level. And so we began, and So that was January, February 2020. And then,
Yeah.
of course, COVID happened, by like end of February, March, we had our first cases in New Zealand, and we were prepping you, I think, for the IFBB Auckland Champs
Yeah.
that year.
Yeah, it was like
And
or something like that.
yeah. And then that was completely scrapped. Obviously, shows were cancelled, and we were going to do the bikini class at that show. And so the rug was pulled out from underneath you, as it was for many competitors over the last couple of years with COVID having, forced shows to be cancelled and stuff. So actually what we did then was I launched an 8-week challenge for people who had been starting to prep, and therefore they couldn't compete. So I decided to, put something together for anyone who had started a prep or anyone who needed a challenge, who had piled on some COVID kilos, and we needed to, have something that had a bit of a competitive aspect to it. And so you were already on my team at that stage, and yourself and quite a few of the other girls on my team decided to enter that challenge. It wasn't Team JM only. I did extend it out to my followers and anyone else who wanted to join in the 8-week challenge. And so we started that process, didn't we? And it was you became part of, well, that was your first competition really, because we did have some video judging that occurred. And didn't you win the fitness model class or something?
I came second in the bikini class.
That's right, second in bikini, yes.
Yeah, I was so excited as well. Like, oh my God.
Yeah, and it was a good class. And we did have, some classes. They weren't all exactly the same as bodybuilding classes, but we did have a bikini class, which was one of our lower muscularity type classes. And your body had transformed quite a lot in that time, so we were really starting to see some good changes.
Yeah, it was crazy. Like even the difference between like the first photos I sent you in January, and then the photos 5 weeks later. Like my mum was walking them around everywhere, like, look.
Oh, shame. Oh, she's your biggest cheerleader. Yeah, it was consistent. You had consistent results, every month from, that sort of January, February date until we got to the end of the 8-week challenge. You placed second in the bikini class. And then we were starting to see some shows on the calendar starting to pop up at the end of the year. And so we decided not to do IFBB anymore. I can't even remember why. It might have been something to do with, I think there were no Auckland shows, or there was only shows in the South Island or something like that. But we decided then to do the INBA September Nationals. Yeah. Was it that year? And so you joined some of the other girls on my team and we were at Hamilton.
Yes. Yeah.
And you competed in your first show there. And you did the Sportsmodel class?
Yeah.
I did. Bikini? No. We just Sportsmodel. That's right. And you put up a really good package there, and you won your Sportsmodel class, didn't you?
Yes.
And there was no overall.
Yeah, because the class had been so small in the past, so they didn't have an overall for it. And I was like,
right.
Oh.
That's right. But there was actually enough competitors, I think, at that particular show to have made up an overall, but they had decided prior to the show staging that there wasn't going to be an overall. So anyway, that was that. But you looked absolutely phenomenal at that show, and you were a real standout because one of my friends, Kim Carter, who was judging that show, she messaged me afterwards and she said, wow, that Tayla Gibbs, she's just got the most exceptional stage presence. Like, yes, beautiful body, beautiful physique, but on stage she just sparkles. She's got the X factor, and I knew, and I could see that when you were on stage, and also with our posing sessions, and I just knew that I was on to something pretty special here, which was just so awesome. And so then we decided to then go into the bikini class at the WFF 2020 Nationals. Yes. Didn't we? And so, of course, because of the COVID year that was and all the shows being cancelled, the federations were opening up their nationals to anyone and made them non-qualifier. So you know, your first shows were national events.
Yes.
And so you jumped on stage there in the bikini class. So what did we do? Was it open?
We did tall and
Tall.
open, I think.
Tall and open. That's right. Yeah.
Oh,
And
no, it was just tall. Maybe.
because I think there was no novice then. I think it was just tall, short, and open or something. Or, no. Oh, I can't even remember now. It's changed since.
Yeah, either.
But you didn't do a novice class. And so you won that class.
Yes.
Didn't you? And then you just missed out narrowly on the overall, I think.
Yeah. Just.
You just edged out by a girl who was a little bit older, so had a little bit more muscle maturity. And with her being older, her conditioning was just a little bit tighter because her skin was a little bit thinner. And but you were very competitive up there. It was just that she had kind of edged you out with her sort of more maturity.
Yeah.
So, it was good for us because we knew, how much potential you had and just what we needed to work on then going forward.
Yeah, definitely.
So then you had your first off season. And what was that like?
Crazy. Like, obviously never experiencing an off season before. I was like, I had no idea what to expect. I was like, I can eat more food. This is great. I can like socialize, go out for dinner. But yeah, I felt very lost.
Yeah.
Very lost.
And you did do what a lot of people do with their first off seasons, that they still stick to the nutrition plan that they've been given for the off season, but then they also add in extras. Yes. And so, extras being kind of just relaxing off a bit more with kind of just a little bit of extra snacking, extra drinks and that kind of thing. And so then that was the first time you sort of experienced, what can happen in the off season when you just move off your plans a bit and relax your mind. And you did come up in conditioning, which is expected in the off season anyway, and you have to come up in your calories anyway to put on muscle. That just has to happen. And that did happen because actually in that off season you did pack on some really good mass, and at that point I could see then that my little bikini Tayla was now becoming a bit more serious in terms of muscularity, and I knew that you were going to be able to be one of those athletes that I could move across women's bodybuilding divisions depending on where we had your conditioning and where we could take your muscularity. So that was really exciting to see. And so you'd had such a good experience the previous season. You wanted to jump straight into it at the start of the 2021 season. So we decided to go for some April shows, I think, didn't we? What did we go for?
Yeah,
WFF again. I think we had another show in mind, but then we ended up doing WFF.
Yeah, I can't remember. It might have been.
I can look back in your notes. But anyway, so we ended up doing WFF again, and then you won that bikini class. Yes. But your muscularity was greater. Like you were, and that was some of the feedback that I think you had. It was like, wow, are you sure you want to stay in bikini, sort of thing, which we had no plans to keep you there long term anyway. So that was kind of good direction, and that we're definitely going on the right track. And so you looked amazing actually at that show. Like you took more experience on stage with you, and just with your posing routine and the way that you were moving on stage, you had a lot more stage experience under your belt compared to the year before, and just being that little bit more seasoned.
Yeah, definitely.
How did you feel going from your first season of competing and being, a green novice, and then coming into that next season? What did that feel like, knowing now that you had some stage experience?
Oh, it was a lot less nerve-wracking backstage because I knew what I needed to do. But then at the same time, it was a lot more nerve-wracking because I wasn't as lean as I was in 2020. Yeah. And that was playing on me a little bit. And I was like, damn it, I don't know what I could have done to like get there more, but my body just stopped moving. Like
It was it was really hard to get your body to move during that period leading up to that. I remember that too. And it sort of just stagnated for a bit there. And it's just sort of like your young hormones kind of just did something. They just kind of kicked in and grabbed on and then just went, yeah, nah, we did this last year. I'm just going to sit tight here. No matter what you do, I'm going to sit tight. And so we did put up a condition that wasn't as lean as the year before, but you took so much more stage experience on stage and with your posing and with your backstage prep that you still got the first place and you got the overall.
Yeah.
I mean, you were posing phenomenally. And the feedback that I was getting from people that were there was just, wow, she's just so next level on stage, the way that she just moves about and so it was still a deserved overall in that respect. It was a small show, but at the same time you still put up really good quality, which was awesome.
It was definitely nice having that experience from the year before because obviously I'd done 2 shows and I was coming on, I was like, okay, now I know what to expect. Now I know what it's going to be like on stage and what it's going to be like off stage. And it was a lot easier like mentally in that sort of, it was a lot easier in that way.
There is just such a huge growth period that happens between doing your first even just between your first show and your second show, because by the time you get that second show, you just know the ropes so much better. You know how it works. But in that very first competition, you're none the wiser. You're just kind of rocking up there, just hoping that you've done enough, and in a way, I always think in a way that's a blessing because you're none the wiser. You just give it your all and you just kind of get up there, and the body tends to behave really well usually for that first show. And I know lots of people watching this will be able to relate to this. And then sometimes when you get into your second and third shows, it's just a different knowing that you have. So yes, you're taking a lot more experience there, but sometimes the body doesn't always come to the party in quite the same way. It's just like there's a change that happens there. And that, as well as the fact that you were so young and your hormones are still kind of establishing themselves, which often plays a really big part in terms of being able to get lean naturally, because that's the way we roll on Team JM. We don't use any banned substance. All my girls are natural. So I wasn't going to go down that track ever with you or anyone. We were always going to do it naturally. So we just have to go with where your body's at. You were still able to put up a good enough condition, and also with your X Factor stage presence, I knew you'd still be very, very presentable and competitive up there, and that is what we saw. And so then we decided to do the ICN Wellington show, didn't we? Which was called the Capital City Super Show. That was it.
Like that,
and so that was new federation for you. So what was that experience like?
Oh, so cool. Like such a cool show. Like we flew to Wellington and like got on the stage with my base tan on. Got on the flight with my base tan on.
Yeah.
It was like, oh.
Is it going to stay put?
But it was such a cool experience. Like the show was so well run and like everyone was so nice, and having obviously all that experience under my belt from my last 3 shows, I was like, breeze.
And we were doing some different classes. So, you did do a bikini class, because actually where your conditioning was at was really quite perfect for ICN bikini. But we also decided to do the ICN Angels class, which was really fun. So we were able to take all your experience from bikini and then add the wings and zhuzh up the routine a little bit more and just really deliver that X factor. But sadly, you were the only ICN Angel there that show, which was sad because we had put together such an exceptional routine and you just looked absolutely phenomenal. Ellie G did an incredible job. of your costume with your wings and the beautiful glitzy bikini with the straps that wrapped around your middle. And it was just, you just
So
looked absolutely amazing. So you ended up doing, so you did bikini, you won that, and then you won the overall. And then you also went on for ICN Angels, but being the only one in the class, you just did a demo.
Yeah, which was really scary. Like, I'd not been on stage by myself before. Doing my quarter turns by myself, and it was like,
Aren't you glad though that you had that experience? Because imagine if you had been a brand new first timer and had decided to go into Angels, and then that was your experience. Like, it would have been absolutely terrifying.
My head would have exploded. So scary, but no, really, really, really fun. And yeah, it was just, so good.
And didn't they interview you? I think, was there a little interview that they gave you on stage?
It was I wrote like a paragraph on like what inspired my wings, because obviously Angels is for Breast Cancer Foundation. I kind of explained the colors and the sparkles and like why we chose to go that way over something else. Yeah, no, it was, and then she read that as I did my walk.
Oh, that's right. That's what it was. Yeah, it was really beautiful. So that was a good experience. And the nice thing about the Angels class is that any ICN female competitor can enter it. So with some of the combinations of classes that you enter in an ICN show, some of those combinations don't go together. So, for example, if you figure, you can't do bikini and vice versa. So, but with ICN Angels, anyone can enter because it is for breast cancer and inspired by breast cancer. And you are judged on your wings and the creativity of the wings, but at the same time, you have to be able to, put up a beautiful physique with, exquisite posing, which really does showcase the wings and display them, in the most beautiful way possible. But, in saying that, had you been a first timer and doing Angels, of course, you would have been ready. I would have had you ready, and, you would have known, you would have been able to handle it up there because the way that, I had prepared you. But, it was a shame that you were the only ICN Angel there on the day. Would you do Angels again?
Yeah. I didn't even get to compete with my wings. So they need to see some competition up there.
Exactly. And those types of wings we've seen in Angels, and with other girls a fair bit, but because, you can go with all different types of designs, and that you can have like a big frame that your wings kind of sit on, like Brittany, who's one of my other Team Jam girls who did ICN Angels in 2019. She had the feather, real angel wings, all feathered up, but they're on a huge frame, and she had to be able to kind of put that frame on her, and then it had to stay put throughout her posing. But with your wings, we decided to just make them a little bit freer, and so they were just that beautiful sheer fabric, and we just attached them, didn't we, onto a finger.
Yeah.
Between your finger and a clasp at the back of your bikini, so as you moved your arms, they floated and moved, and they were really ethereal.
Oh yeah, no, so pretty on stage. Ellie did an amazing job.
Yeah, she definitely did. And so then after that, so that was considering it had been a challenging prep for those two shows.
Yes.
We were pretty pleased with the outcome because you had done well and you looked absolutely beautiful, and the feedback that we had on you was excellent feedback. So then we looked at shows later in the year, but then of course COVID hit again. We had the big Auckland lockdown. You were back training at home, as all my Team Jam girls are, during the lockdowns, and you have all your JM home programming, and that's what you were doing. So what was the lockdown like for you at that point, having competed? And then we did have our eyes on some shows at the other end of the season, but of course there was this uncertainty of the lockdown.
Yeah, no, I hate lockdown. And I hate training from home, but I'm lucky that I do have you to do my home programs, and so I don't feel like I'm missing out on anything, but training from home just sucks. I hate it.
Boring. It's
Yeah.
monotonous, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. So being at home and like wanting to do more shows, like it made me very stressed. Yeah. And that only like intensified my body just not coming to the party and not wanting to do anything else, which I guess was a blessing in disguise.
Yes, it was. And it was actually a time where a lot of personal growth happened because you didn't have competitions to distract you. You didn't have, external factors in life to distract you. You were stuck at home. You were training at home. There was a bit of a hope of doing something later in the year if the lockdown ended in time, or, some shows were able to be staged at our New Zealand level 2 system. But, in that time, because life was just so simplified, you were forced to look at, kind of like your habits and your mental habits. And you had to do some real soul searching in that time.
Yeah, definitely. Because I was putting so much pressure on myself because, like, I am so competitive and I have really high expectations of myself. And, like, seeing my body, like, we're being in lockdown and I'm seeing my body just, like, not moving anymore. And I was really stressed, and I think that was making it not move even more.
Correct.
And then I think making the call to not compete was, like, the biggest weight off my shoulders. And obviously I was really sad to see all the shows go ahead without me later in the year when the lockdown did eventually stop. But it was a relief in one way because it
was bittersweet, wasn't it? Because I remember you kind of being like, oh, but what am I going to look forward to, and how am I going to find my focus if I don't have competitions to be preparing for? But at the same time, it was a huge relief because then you didn't have that pressure about trying to force your body to do something that currently it just wasn't happy doing.
No.
And it was the stress. And as we know, with stress, your cortisol hormone elevates. And as soon as that is kind of overriding in the system, your body will not want to drop body fat. It will not really want to gain muscle. It's just all of that is just very low priority because you're just in that stress and survival response. And so when we then, we just said, okay, it's not working. Let's just scrap it. Next year's a new year. We're just going to pull back now. We're not going to do shows. We're not, even if one happened, you're not going to be in it. So, and then you were able to sort of find yourself, I think at that point, that's when something changed for you.
Yeah, definitely. Like I had this real like emotional roller coaster over lockdown. Like lockdown was a very interesting time in my brain trying to figure out like, oh, okay, like I'm not doing shows, but like I'm still training for next year's shows. I want to bring something better to like this year 2022's shows. But then I was like so sad that I couldn't compete, and like I was frustrated that my body wasn't moving. And then when we called it off and no more shows, I was like, okay, I can relax. I can let my body do what it knows how to do.
Yeah.
And like I feel like I've come out into this year, like my body's changing so much and like body fat's going in the right direction. And I'm like, oh, yes, it just needed to be kinder to myself.
Yes, exactly. And those are the words. Those are the words right there. Because we can be so cruel in the way that we, feel about our bodies and the way that we diss them because they're not doing, your body's not doing what you want it to do. And so, with a lot of our coaching that we did, I was teaching you how to just accept your body as it is and to understand that it's a genius as it is and that it's perfect as it is. And then as you learn how to implement that stuff. And also you found your mojo in other ways. You were doing, you were going out for runs, and you were kind of finding ways to satisfy, kind of like your competitive side, because that was the other thing, was that because you're so used to having competitions as you had all the way through your childhood, and always having something, a bar to be set and to move towards, not having that felt like a long time to then just focus on potentially doing something the next year. So you really had to learn how to cope with yourself and your thinking and your self-competitive nature.
Yeah,
sure. In that time. But yeah, and it was really great being able to coach you and to teach you how to change some of your thought patterns. And then the stress started to come off, and then it was sort of around about December, things started to happen, didn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Like end of last year, like once I kind of came to the realization, I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna sit here and feel sorry for myself anymore.
Yeah,
I'm gonna relax, and I'm gonna just train hard, eat well, and just get my head in the game.
Yeah,
because
simplify.
Yeah, because like I don't necessarily do this just for shows. It's like I do this to keep myself fit and to keep
it's a lifestyle.
That's
what bodybuilding is
for myself as well, like bettering myself for myself, not for shows necessarily. And I was like, and then everything kind of came to the party.
It did. Yeah, and that's the beauty of this journey. The bodybuilding journey is a bodybuilding journey, and there's shows and there's prep in there, but the most beneficial thing about the bodybuilding journey is that you experience so much personal growth along the way. You learn so much about yourself because it is all revealing. It will reveal parts of yourself that you don't like in terms of your personality and your habits, and it'll reveal parts of yourself that are inconsistent. It will reveal parts of yourself where your discipline falls off, and you're dealing with those guilt emotions and that kind of thing. It's and then learning how to overcome that is a hurdle, because your mind is such a big controller of what's happening in your physical body. So what you went through was learning how to get into an easy place in your mind and to just calm that down, and to just kind of reduce all of the noise, the background noise, and all the voices that were going on in your head of that I'm not good enough. Why can't I be, why is my body doing this? And it's not enough, and I need competition to feel X, Y, and Z. And you learn how to just override that, and to just trust, and to just simplify, and to just train for you and your goals for the next year.
Definitely. And this year's kicked off great. So
it sure has. You picked up sponsors. You've started a new career in the fitness industry. You're getting your qualifications as a personal trainer. And there's been so much cool stuff happening. You've had photo shoots. It's been a really good start to the year.
Oh, for sure.
And it's because you learned how to change your mindset and your expectations of yourself, and it actually gave you space to see, and then to just receive and be open to all the cool stuff that life can deliver to you.
Definitely. And like now that I'm not going to say that I'm not stressed, but like now that I'm less stressed and I'm being kind to myself, the muscle is coming.
Yeah, it is.
The body's moving in the right direction. The body fat's coming down. I'm like, this year's shows are going to be great. I'm very excited.
It is. And we're going to move away from bikini this year, and we're going to move into some different classes. So we're looking at Sportsmodel, and we're looking at maybe some classic figure or something like that, to start to move you towards, some more muscular classes, which, given your age, is a really big and exciting goal. But you do have the background genetics to be able to, put up really good quality sports model criteria and classic figure criteria. So I know we can do it. I'm really excited to teach you the new posing and and to put you in the new costumes and, and really start to have fun with this next part of your journey. So how are you feeling about it?
Oh, I'm so excited. Like, I've started putting money aside for new bikinis and I've got new shoes and I'm like, oh, I cannot wait to start posing in my new shoes. I'm like, I cannot wait.
Your new stage heels.
Yes.
Yeah. So you did a photo shoot with Vodka.
And Pretty Fit, yeah.
And Pretty Fit, yeah. So check out Tayla's Instagram, guys. What is it, Bikini Fit Tayla?
Yeah.
On Instagram. She's got some amazing photos from her photo shoots with the Vodka shoes and the Pretty Fit stage heels. And you'll also see her other sponsor, who is D3 Tape.
Yes.
And so they provide tape for athletes, strapping tape, and Tayla is one of their ambassadors, so she's done some photo shoots for them as well, and they're very, very cool photos. So, yeah, check out her Instagram and have a look. And you'll also see her journey, of course, from the time when you pretty much were in your prep. You were already under me when you started that page, and you were just sort of going through your first prep and then into your competitions and into that latter part of the journey. So it's a very exciting journey to watch. I'm so excited to be your coach in this process and to see as your body continues to mature, as your muscularity, just continues to build and you build that nice mature muscle, your body's going to be constantly changing over the next 10 years. So I'm just so amped to see where we can take it. So at this stage, the shows we're looking at is we've got the ICN Hawke's Bay show, don't we? And the May show as well. And were we looking at that? Remind me.
Yeah, maybe.
We're going to play with it, aren't we?
Yeah, we're going to think about it. And I'm not going to put pressure on myself.
Yeah, I agree. I think that it's just, we're going to just enjoy prepping for Hawke's Bay. And if your body comes to the party earlier, then we'll do May. But, otherwise August is going to be our month where we're going to reveal the new Tayla. And the next part of your journey.
Yes, I can't wait. I'm very excited.
Yeah, me too. So, give Tayla's pages a follow. So she's Bikini Fit Tayla on Instagram. You've got a Facebook page as well, don't you? What's that called?
Tayla Gibbs, bodybuilding athlete, I think.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
I'll link it in there.
Yeah. And of course, Tayla's all over my social media as well, Female Bodybuilding Coaching. And you can also see pictures of her on my website. So please watch this space. We have so much more to bring in terms of Tayla. She's got so much potential, and I'm really honoured to be her coach and take her through the rest of her journey to the next stage, whatever it might be. Down the track, could you see yourself, maybe with a pro card or something if that was on offer?
Be a dream. That'd be so cool.
To that level, you'd like to compete at pro level one day?
Yeah, for sure. Definitely. 100%.
Excellent. That's good. I do see you there. And I believe that we're just going to continue to just build on your stage experience and continue to work on your conditioning and just, move it in the right direction, and the right time will just reveal itself. And and then we'll have some fun going for that. But I think you definitely have the potential to have a pro card one day.
One day.
Awesome. So watch this space, everybody. We also are releasing a beginner training program. It's called the Gym Bay program. If you are thinking about competing and haven't sort of got your body on the way quite yet. Maybe you've dabbled in the gym a little bit. Maybe you're thinking about doing something like what Tayla has done, then this is the perfect training program to start to get the ball rolling for you. Tayla and I have put it together as we remembered back to the start of her journey and what it was like in the beginning, moving from just being a dabbler in the gym into starting to get a little bit more serious. It's not an advanced program, it's a nice stepping stone program which will help get your body on the right path and build all the right muscle curves in the right places. So keep eyes peeled for that. We're going to be releasing that very soon. It will be on my social media. There will be a big release. The link for it will also be added to this YouTube video, so make sure you look in the comments below for that link for the Gymba program, which Tayla and I have designed for all you beginners out there to get you on the path to your competition body. Tayla, thank you so much for being with me on this interview. I'm sure everyone's enjoyed just hearing what it's like to be at the age that you're at and to start as a complete beginner, go through the novice classes, and to have a highly successful experience, winning overalls, and being a real ambassador as well for some great brands. So thank you so much for sharing your journey, and here's to the next bit. Thanks, Tayla. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.